welcome to Biters. This is Dianne.
And this is Marnell.
And it is 16 degrees out, and yet Carol smiles.
Yeah, I got nothing. It's still like 30 degrees here and we have no snow yet. So I'm smiling.
So we are here to talk about season 8, episode 3, Monsters.
Monsters.
So why don't you go ahead and start us out with your rating?
Mine was, same as last episode. I'm not like overly impressed or excited or anything like that. So it's a 4.2 fire extinguisher distractions.
Well, I think I'll probably keep it around a 4 out of 5 rogues and renegades and woolly-haired kings. I am totally in love with Ezekiel this season. I am jumping off the Daryl train and I am on the Ezekiel train.
So is Carol.
I know, right?
It's right off that Daryl train.
It's like I said last night, find somebody who looks at you the way Carol looks at Ezekiel.
I think she's buying into his act now.
And I think she totally knows it's an act, and I think she doesn't care.
Yeah, I think it's growing on her.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed that back and forth in this episode. That was really light and enjoyable.
Yeah, the GIF on Talking Dead was very funny that involved her.
Oh, right,
it was just it just kept like her smiling over and over, and it was very funny.
Yes, it was. Well, so I think other people are kind of feeling the 4.2 out of 5 energy because the numbers for The Damned were not very good.
Well, to be fair, The Damned was not only against Sunday Night Football, but it was also up against Game 5 of the World Series. So
I will give you that. That is fair. I will give you that.
Yeah. See, we're really gonna have to look at like the Live Plus 3, the Live Plus 7, or any of those, because I think people are more apt to watch a sports
ball.
Sports ball.
I'm stealing that from my friend Jen. That is not mine, but she called the World Series sports ball, and I thought that was perfect for us non-sports people.
Brian, if you're out there, I'm so sorry. I think they're more apt to watch a sporting event live than they are The Walking Dead or any other show that they can watch after the outcome of the live game. So
I can tell you the same day, and I can tell you Live Plus 3.
All right, let's hear them.
So same day, it was 8.9 million. So it was under 10 million on the same day, which I was very shocked by that. Overall,
do you hear my tiny little violin for their 9 million people?
Right.
Like that's still
three
times as much as any other show.
It's 3 times as much as Fear. I know.
Yeah. Fear or any of the other shows
or
that
American Horror
on AMC.
Story.
Yeah.
Yes. So overall, it was second in the week to Monday Night Football because, you're looking at 7 days, not just the Sunday night.
Right.
In Live Plus 3, they went up by 3.3 million, so they had a total of 12.2 million in Live Plus 3, and that was a 37% increase.
Yeah.
And the thing that I thought when I was looking at those numbers was, I really want this to go on forever because I love it so much, but I want them to go out at the top of their game. I feel like right now we're not at the top of our game.
No, but I think we could totally get there. I've been seeing, is it just me, or are there a lot more predictions this season? Like, oh, we predict Rick's going to die. We predict Judith's going to die. Or, it seems like that there's a lot more like, we think this is going to happen.
I feel like there's a lot more haters this season. I mean, I've actually had a lot of people say, oh, we bailed on that because they're just doing the same thing over and over and over. Which just breaks my heart.
I did see a headline that said they had a huge cast that they could totally weed down. So, I mean, you could really ramp things up by starting to kill people off, and I think maybe we saw a little bit of that at the end of the episode, but nobody's super important
Oh,
yet.
bite your tongue unless your name is Aaron.
Oh, no, I was talking about when everyone dived on King Ezekiel to save him.
Yeah. God, I
So
hope King Ezekiel doesn't get it. I'm gonna be pissed.
no. So we actually rewatched that about 4 times because my other half was thoroughly convinced that Jerry was one of the ones that dove on Ezekiel.
Yeah, no, that
And
was
you
one of
just
the
saw,
quiz things on Talking Dead.
yeah, you just saw an explosion of blood come from his back, and I was like, no, like Jerry wasn't anywhere near Ezekiel. He was halfway across the field with the other dude. And so we rewatched it like 4
Oh,
times, like
that's
pausing and
funny.
unpausing, pausing and unpausing, and Jerry was nowhere near. So I don't think we've lost Jerry unless he caught another bullet.
Right, so
So
the only thing that would hurt as bad as losing Ezekiel would be losing Jerry.
yeah,
Because
Jerry would be
Jerry's
rough.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the title was Monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes from it comes from Morales telling Rick that he's a monster.
Yeah, and so we were talking a little bit before the episodes, and there was a definite theme that ran through, I think, all of the groups. Maybe save for Aaron's. I kind of didn't catch too much of it in Aaron's, but one of the things that Morales said to Rick was, "You're a monster."
Mm-hmm.
But later on, he told Rick that they're both the same guy. And so, and in a little bit of Morales and Rick's talking, I got the feeling that Morales saw Rick's group as monsters, but he also didn't discount the fact that Negan's group was also monsters.
So I thought Juan Pareja played it really, really well. I could totally see in the character that he was completely changed. He was
Yeah.
not Morales from season 1, and he was so hardened and so angry and just not the person that we knew back in the camp.
Well, and we didn't see it, but Morales said it that like after his wife and daughters died, that he was basically just a broken man waiting to die.
Right.
And that's when Negan's group found him and made him feel like he was worth saving. And that is a huge way that cults get their following is they break,
Oh, good one.
yeah, they break you down into believing that you're nothing, and then they build you back up, with the whatever belief system is in the cult.
And they didn't have to break him down. They found him broken.
Yeah, they found him broken. And so I totally believe that of him, that he was a broken man, and he was Negan, all the way. Rick, whatever history he had with Rick and his group, it meant nothing anymore because that wasn't even the same guy. That guy died with his wife and children. So, but the other thing is Morgan and Jesus fighting. Morgan ends up by saying, "We're the same." And like he was talking about Negan's group, the Saviors, and their group, we're the same. And so I think, and then Ezekiel at the end, he said, "We are they, one or the other."
Right.
And so I think everyone kind of was like, we're all a little monstrous when we have to be. And I think everyone was sort of feeling that they're doing terrible things, but it's for the cause that they believe in. And so I think everyone sort of saw themselves as monsters.
Well, and you're seeing references to we don't execute people yet. That's not who we are.
Right.
Rick will listen to me when he won't listen to you, or Maggie will listen to you, but Rick will listen to me. I mean, we're seeing lots of references to dealing with things expediently.
Right. And even Maggie said when she let Gregory into Hilltop was, he's not worth killing yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think I felt like a little bit of a monster because my other half and I had the debate that between Morgan and Jesus, I don't know who to side with because I side a little bit with both of them in that I really, really think that Jesus was wrong for stopping everyone from killing the saviors that they're now have prisoner. But I also think that, Morgan's wrong at this point. I don't think you can execute them. I think that time has passed. And so I'm a little bit like we should have just killed them to begin with. And I feel like a little bit of a monster for saying that. And I also think that Morgan's a little bit of a monster for wanting to just execute them. So, yeah, I think
I
Monster had a great meeting.
I think Morgan is, I mean, he said it himself, he's not right. And I
But he's
think,
not wrong.
but I think that is in a bigger way than just right or wrong on a matter of determining people's futures, determining people's fates. But we'll
Right.
talk about that more.
Okay.
um, so, I can see monsters throughout. I think you're right. And I think it even, Ezekiel was not necessarily referring to the members of the kingdom as being monstrous, but he recognizes that they're all a step away from being the Walking Dead. I mean, it goes back to Rick's declaration a couple of seasons ago, we are the Walking Dead.
Right. Right.
So, well, so our director was Greg Nicotero. I'm not going to belabor that. Our writers were Matthew Negrete and Channing Powell, who wrote last week's episode, The Damned. And I felt like this episode kind of had some of that same frenetic energy and was not maybe as tightly woven as I would like.
What do you mean?
So it just felt scattered. I mean, last episode felt kind of scattered and it was hard to track everything. And I felt like the energy in this was somewhat frenetic as well. It just wasn't quite smooth. And I think they pull Greg Nicotero out when they have great effects, and I love it when Nicotero directs. But I think that this kind of held on to that. What's going on? Hold on, wait, let me watch that again so I can make sure I'm up on that.
So, and I've had that feeling for all three of these first episodes this season that like we're just very scattered, and we've had time jumps back and forth, and we've had scene jumps and locations and things like that. And I did read an article where they were like, if because at some point Aaron's group runs into where Nick and Daryl are, and I had no idea.
Rick and Daryl.
Rick, what did I say?
Nick
and Daryl? Rick and Daryl.
What?
I was looking at Greg Nicotero's name. So, they go running into there, and it's like, those guys were in the same place all along. Like, why didn't Rick and Daryl hear the gunfire from Aaron's group? Like, that should have been kind of in the background. And it was always very quiet in the corridors where Rick and Daryl were. And when Morales and Rick were talking, Aaron and Eric and all those guys were out having a firefight with the saviors in that little courtyard. And I'm just like, I had no idea they were so in such close proximity.
Well, and I'm going to tell you very honestly, I didn't realize that until you just said it.
Yeah, and that was one of the things in one of the articles that I read that was like, if you're confused on where everybody is and what time it is, you're not alone. So if you are feeling that way, that we're very scattered and disjointed so far this season, we are. And, you and I were talking with Thomas O'Mara this morning about the show, and I think he didn't realize that we're still in the same day.
Right. I thought we were still in day one also. So
yeah.
we agree on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I haven't seen anybody sleep. I haven't seen anybody take a break. We're all just trudging along and taking out savior compounds and outposts. And so and plus, I mean, one of my big rants about this episode, we haven't addressed an issue that came up at the end of episode 1, and we have to be in the same day. So, All Out War is moving very slowly and it's very disjointed.
Well, one of the points I made when we were talking with Thomas O'Mara this morning is that last season, it was either Gail Ann Hurd or it was Denise Huth said it took all of 19 days for the entire season to go.
Right.
So, they're doing these seasons that are several months in length, but they only cover a few days real time.
Right.
So it's consistent that All Out War is moving kind of slow right now.
Yeah, and until it was said that it doesn't seem right that, we go from, Glenn's head getting bashed in to All Out War in 19 days, because it just feels like it feels like the Saviors were at the compound like every other day. If that's the case, they were they were at Alexandria every other day asking, like demanding tribute. And so, which is absolutely possible that, and I would have guessed that they would have been like every 2 weeks, but in 19 days, I think that they were there, 3 or 4 times. So I don't know.
I want to say in the book it's every couple of weeks, but it's, I don't read the book for months on end and then I'll binge on a couple of volumes. So it's hard to keep my timeline straight there too.
Well, and we have the whole issue of Maggie's not showing and Judith is like 5.
Right. Judith went from 2 to 5 overnight.
Yeah, Judith went from like not being able to hold her head up to like playing outside all by herself with chalk, like whatever. Okay.
Which, by the way, Chandler Riggs now has peach fuzz.
Oh, I did see that. That's so crazy.
I rewatched 1 and 2 today because my other half needed to catch up. So
I noticed it on the Talking Dead for episode 1 that it's like, oh my god, he's getting a beard.
Right. We're getting old, man.
We are.
So featured cast, I really felt like we had to talk about Jordan Woods Robinson.
Sure.
Right? So, as people may or may not know, that is Eric, who we lost in this episode. And I mean, I actually really felt like it was pretty clear last episode that he was going to die.
Yeah, and spoiler alert for anyone who reads the comics, he does die in the comics at this point in the war, I guess.
Although it sounds like he took a headshot in the comics, so he went out pretty fast.
Right. There was no drawing it out like it was, which I did like the way that, they kind of did get to say goodbye.
I did too, actually. I mean, I thought the chemistry between the actors was good, and I thought that was a really great goodbye scene.
Yeah.
Although, I was listening to the interview with Ross Marquand on Talking Dead, and he was saying, oh yeah, I think he pretty much knew it was a goodbye scene because you don't get gut shot in the zombie apocalypse and have a good outcome.
But there was still hope because, I mean, it was a through and through, depending on where you do get hit, a through and through would be better than having the bullet lodged in you.
Oh, absolutely. But he was bleeding pretty profusely when we saw him last episode when Aaron first discovered the wound.
Right.
So that was rather impressive.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Jordan Woods Robinson. So this guy is really interesting. I thought of you when I read his biography. I thought this guy is right up our alley. I wonder if his wife knows he's married. So he was born and raised in Bybee, Tennessee on a 180-acre animal rescue farm.
Oh.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Are you coughing up a lung? Don't get bit. Don't bite anybody.
No, I'm just going to shamble off into the sunset.
And then I'm going to cry and I'm going to have to find somebody else to put you down. So anyway, I thought that was really cool. And he does list on his athletic skills on his acting resume, yoga, cycling, and equestrian.
Oh!
So,
yes,
yeah.
Totally right up our alley.
Yeah, totally. So, Jordan, if you ever lose your beautiful wife and need a place to camp out with your 2 beautiful kids, come to Alaska.
There are animals and horses abound.
So the other thing that's super cool about him, and we've talked about this off and on, is that he is a member of the Blue Man Group.
Yes.
And he and his family live in Orlando, Florida, and he performs with the Blue Man Group at Disney there in Florida.
I think that's amazing. I did read an article today that had a little bit of an interview with him that said uh, they asked him, like, have you ever been recognized from The Walking Dead? And he's like, actually, been recognized more from the Blue Man Group than I have The Walking Dead.
That's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
that takes some real dedication to recognize him out of his makeup.
Right?
So one of the things that I learned when I was reading about him is he got that job right after graduating from acting school. So he's been doing it
Wow.
for quite a while, and it's his biography said that he's actually traveled the globe with the Blue Man Group, which I thought was really neat.
What a cool way to see the world.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And, he said on The Talking Dead, it's not on his IMDb page yet, but he does have an upcoming role in Homeland, which I don't watch, but I hear is a very, very good show. And that's just, it seems so cool that I feel like The Walking Dead just launches people's careers. Like, no matter how small their role is, if you made an impact like Jerry, it just, you're forever going to be a star of The Walking Dead.
I am really hoping that Cooper Andrews that his career gets some real legs from this because I really like Jerry.
Right. And I must apologize to Jordan Woods Robinson, aka Eric, that I thought you were gonna like turncoat on us and be a bad guy for Negan. I totally eat my words, and I feel really bad that I talked badly about you because
Oh.
his death scene and like Aaron loving him, and he just seems like a great guy, like outside The Walking Dead on when he was interviewed on The Talking Dead. So, I really hope good things for him, from here on out.
It sure sounds like it. I mean, it sounds like he's got a good arc on Homeland.
Yeah.
It sounded
Yeah.
like more than just one little appearance, so that's cool.
Right. Right.
The other thing that
So,
he mentioned on Talking Dead that I thought was really cool was that he had an album that got crowdfunded by the people who, ourselves included, refer to themselves as TWD family.
I could not believe that he did not
Yeah.
elaborate on that. I'm going to have to go. I just watched The Talking Dead like an hour ago, so I'm going to have to go. And, is it country? Is it folk?
No,
Is he
I think
like,
it sounds like
um,
it's it must be pretty out there because he's got that big percussion background from being part of the Blue Man Group. But
true?
his bio said he's a musician, a songwriter, a founder of a studio called SOS Studio, which is basically like a way to connect musicians online.
Huh.
And he plays mandolin, fiddle, guitar, violin, viola, and percussion.
What the heck is the mandolin fiddle? I know what a
No,
mandolin
no, no.
is. I know what a fiddle is.
Mandolin,
Oh,
comma, fiddle,
comma fiddle.
comma.
Okay.
Sorry. So he's multi-talented.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
so I think that this was a nice stopover for Jordan Woods Robinson, and now a lot of us know his name where we might not have before, but I don't think this is the end of his trail by any stretch.
Actor, musician, blue man. He's the new triple threat.
I was kind of thinking Renaissance man, but yeah, triple threat's probably a better way to describe him. So yeah, we are very, very sorry to lose Eric, and people are already shipping Jesus and Aaron.
Which I did like an episode or two ago.
I know, but I mean, we
I
were
think
talking about an article. It wasn't like you were like, and now.
I think I may have actually done it like way longer ago in my head because I thought Eric was going to be a bad guy. So I think it's going to take a lot longer for Aaron and Jesus to become a couple, just because Aaron has to go through the grieving process. And now he's got a baby to raise, apparently.
Right. I totally think he's going to raise Gracie, but we'll go there, right?
Which I think he should like totally change her name to Erica. That's weird to some people, but I'm going to go there.
Well, I mean, you can almost use the letters from Gracie to get there. So, maybe.
Almost.
All right. Tell me you're good.
Um, my good was a laugh out loud funny moment. Like I I just it was the funniest moment that I've seen in so long in The Walking Dead, and we've had some pretty funny moments.
I
And
think I know where you're going, but I want to be sure.
so the when Eric yeah when Jordan was on the couch talking on Talking Dead, and he was talking about the writers and everything. I have to say that this was some of the best piece of writing when Gregory is at the gates of Hilltop, and he's like, "Cal's delusional." Cal leans over the fence and is like, "What the hell?" and flips Gregory off. And he's like, "You know you can be dramatic with the sour gum pancakes." And Cal's like, "You mean where you ate the little girl's pancakes?"
I did
And
not eat those
I
pancakes.
love that.
That was hilarious.
That was hilarious. I had to stifle my laughter because I was actually watching it late last night when the other half was in bed.
Oh my god.
Um, And so today when we were watching it, I was like, "Oh, you have to pay attention to this. This is so funny."
It was pretty funny.
It was really funny. I did not eat those pancakes. And like, I just loved Cal like leaning over being like, "What the hell, Gregory?" Flipping him off.
Gregory is a
That was great.
horrible human being.
He is. He is. And I don't know what they are going to do with him, but yeah. Yeah. I don't know what is in that man's head. Like even a little bit of self-preservation, like,
Right. I mean, I think it's totally all about Gregory taking care of Gregory.
well,
It
and
has nothing to do with anybody else and nothing to
he's
do with
even
anybody else's well-being.
what's terrible is he like rests on everybody else's coattails. Like he's not even good at taking care of himself. Because he could have come up with such a better lie about Father Gabriel. He could have been like, "Oh, it was horrible. He was surrounded by walkers and I couldn't get to him." And, like he was a goner. And, rather than being like, "Who? Who's Father Gabriel?" You know,
he
because
would
that's going to come back to bite him.
he would have to care about what people think of him to actually
Yeah,
put the energy into lying.
he doesn't play a good long game. Like all his
No.
games are short games, and it never works out for him, but he always manages to like squeak by,
Hmm.
So, but I just love that Cal called him out on his BS.
He's a
That,
terrible human.
yes,
He
Gregory
would
is.
he would do well in our current US politics. Okay, that's enough. I'm not saying anything else.
So that was my good, was that
Was
just
just
that
being able to
like
laugh.
laugh out loud
Yeah.
funny moment of great writing. And I think Jordan uh, said that he credited Matthew Negretti to it. So I don't know if Channing wrote different scenes or what, but yeah, because the Jordan was talking about the funny moments when Eric and Aaron were talking.
Hmm.
There were a couple of funny little quips there. So yeah, that was some pretty funny writing, I have to say.
And they have written on this series for a really long time, so they know these characters well.
Yeah, yeah, and it really shows through in some of the more intimate moments, and intimate being, like the scenes where people are dying or falling in love or, you know, not eating pancakes.
Or saying that they're not eating pancakes when they really are.
I did not eat those pancakes.
That was really funny. He seemed like a toddler. He seemed
He
like a toddler
did.
tantruming.
And what's funny is Maggie treated him like one a little later when he was like, "Don't let the saviors in. You don't know what they've done, blah, blah, blah." And Maggie's like, "Go." She treated him like a little toddler. It was funny.
She did. It was awesome.
Yeah. So what was your good?
So my good was, and I'm trying to keep this PG, But Daryl and Tara are both totally out of F's to give.
Oh,
The field
yeah.
in which they groweth thy F's is barren.
And I am totally on board with the both of
I
them.
am too. I mean, it was actually incredibly satisfying. And when Rick was like, "Do you know who that was?" and he was like, "Doesn't matter."
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just, it was very satisfying just to see the both of them be like, "We're not messing around anymore.
Yeah.
We've
And
been nice for
so,
too long. We played the game for too long. We're not messing around anymore."
so I don't know, did we talk about the character from Boy Meets World last episode?
Uh,
Um he I forget the kid's name, but that was actually the one that Daryl shot when they got the information about the 50 cal out of him.
oh, okay. The one this time
Uh,
around
yeah, and
when they asked
so
about the guns and he said that they had been shipped out the day before.
right, and he was kind of a geeky character on Boy Meets World, and so there was a joke going around Twitter that Daryl killed the character from Boy Meets World. Yeah. So that was pretty Minkus.
Oh,
Daryl killed
yeah.
Minkus.
So it's totally not a series that I watched, so it would have been completely lost on me.
Yeah, so that was the thing that was going on Twitter was Daryl killed Minkus. But it was funny because Rick was like, "I give you my word, and a
Right.
man's word, it is bond, and it means something, and blah blah blah." And then Daryl goes off and shoots, and I'm like, "Note to self: get the other guy's word too."
Right. So Rick is doing the whole Rick, I'm
Officer friendly.
right, but he's also doing the whole like I don't really know what I want and we're terrible and bad and but a man's word is his bond. I mean,
Yeah,
Rick is crumbling again.
we're being horrible people, but it's for a good cause.
Right.
Well, when you win or when the dust settles, where do you go from there? You were still horrible people, did horrible things, And so I'm very conflicted about my feelings towards, the saviors who put down their weapons. I'm very conflicted about that. So I have no answers either. I'm not saying that one person's right or the other one's wrong, but I kind of am on Daryl and Tara's team with this one.
I kind of go back to the conversation we had around Tara last week, which is that she was on the wrong side when we met her. She made a terrible
Yeah,
choice.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there are some saviors that may be able to integrate themselves or at least move on and create their own society without having, bad intentions towards any of our groups now. But there's definitely going to be other saviors who are going to seek revenge. And, at that point, you do have to execute them.
And how do you figure that out? How do you tease that out?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know.
Me either.
Well, talk to me about your bad, sister.
So I have a bad, but I really like the bad once I watch The Talking Dead.
Okay, so wait a minute. Then that's your ugly, and it's your good ugly.
Not quite. So I'm really upset with Morgan and Jesus fighting.
Right? Mom and dad are fighting.
Mom and dad are
Big
fighting.
time.
Yeah, and I can't deal. And on our SMG podcast marathon, we talked about the teaser trailer for season 8 for Walking Dead.
And we talked about how potentially that was just them sparring.
Right, and it's not.
Right.
They were truly fighting, and like I said, I don't know whose side I am on. I'm on both side and neither side at the same time. I really think that the saviors shouldn't have been given the chance to surrender, and they should have just been mowed down because we don't know which one of them are going to turn out good and which ones are going to turn out bad. And there's definitely going to be some bad ones, but there could possibly be some good ones, and they've already surrendered. So I do agree that you can't execute them all at this point. So I don't know who I agree with and I don't know who I disagree with, but I just know that we shouldn't be fighting each other about it. It's like national politics. There's so much infighting in the parties. Stop it.
Right. Oh my God. We could do a whole podcast just about that.
But we won't.
But we won't.
So I'm very, and now Morgan has stormed off, and who knows where he's going to go or end up or what's going to happen.
Right.
With
Are we going to
that.
see Morgan again?
Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe he's going to go get a goat and be the new Cheeseman. And I do have to say that I was wrong. There is a correction that I have to make.
Uh-oh, corrections corner. Georgia and Karen.
So, Savior Jared, the one that was needling Morgan the entire episode.
Which, please
the
tell
dude
me,
with the long hair.
in the craziness of this episode, he got killed, right?
I don't think so. So I did not remember this until it was pointed out by an article on Insider. He was the savior that killed Ben.
Yes.
Benji.
Yeah, Ben.
And so that's how he knew Morgan. I thought that he, my theory was that, he knew Morgan from being a savior and that Morgan was our turncoat, and he's not. That's the one that executed Ben.
And he knew Morgan from the drops that the kingdom was doing.
Right. And he pointed out that Morgan is wearing Ben's armor. That's why it looks so small.
Oh, God, I didn't even put that together. I was just thinking about kind of the whole concept of Morgan's armor shrinking and that being symbolic. I didn't even think about it being Ben's armor.
That was Ben's armor. And Savior Jared knew that was Ben's armor and that he had executed Ben. So he has been needling Morgan. So, Morgan is under a great amount of pressure, and I see why he snapped. He like went into Terminator mode last episode, and then all of a sudden he has to be kind of a nice guy and not kill the saviors. And there's one that is just digging for it. So, it's no wonder that he snapped on Jesus. And so I wonder where Morgan's head's at, so I'm very, very upset at mom and dad fighting and then dad storming off. So that's where I'm at.
Well,
what was your bad?
My bad is really whiny, but I just am bummed that they made the Morales arc so short.
Okay, that was my other bad. I'm glad I didn't choose it.
I actually really felt like we could have gone some interesting places with Morales, and I think it's just really a bummer to see this character come back, this character be so hardened and so changed from the person that he was when we met him in season 1. And I felt like we could have gone further with that.
Definitely. It hit a dead end way too soon.
It was not satisfying at all to have Daryl shoot him and be like, "You okay?" I mean, he could have been asking that of the audience, and my answer would have been no.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't believe when he shot him that he was actually dead. I was like, Morales is going to get up at any moment, and he didn't. And I can't believe that ended so quickly.
Yeah.
And I still maintain there was netting and fishing poles behind Rick on Morales's wall.
And you are correct, because we rewatched that episode today and there was. So
yeah, I just feel
we
like
don't have the connection of his wife and daughters being at Oceanside, but maybe there is a connection to Oceanside.
Right.
Or maybe if he wasn't connected to Oceanside, the guy that Rick killed and the baby Gracie were connected to Oceanside.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I definitely think that Morales' time ended too soon. That we should have gone and could have gone more and better places with that and expanded upon that.
And this is kind of rotting potpourri, but talking about the fishing net on the wall, we've got 2 communities out there that we haven't heard from at all.
2?
We've got the trash heap people,
Oh,
Not
that's
that either
right.
of us wants to see them again, but we've also got Oceanside. So we've got a couple of big communities that are unaccounted for in All Out War.
All the trashy people are dying of tetanus.
Please to God, please from your lips to God's ears. Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I don't think that's true, but I'd be fine with
No, and
that.
with one of the next time on, there was a couple of walkers that look kind of were the way they were decayed was very reminiscent of the walker that Rick had to battle with all the spikes in its head.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have spikes in their
Winston.
head.
Winston.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They look like Winston kind of without the spikes. So, and there was like a car bumper like laying on the ground and so I wonder if maybe we'll see a little bit of the trash people next episode, but I could do without.
Which, by the way, I would just like to mention, and maybe this is a sad thing about my brain injured brain, that I actually remembered Winston's name. But there were people last week who were like, yeah, that dude. Who is that dude that's drawing down on Rick? Where was he? I'm like, how could you not remember Morales? How could you be a fan and not know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and especially since there's been so much talk of a crossover character,
Right.
and everyone was like, whatever happened to the Morales family?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you should have remembered Morales.
All right, so is your ugly a good ugly or a bad ugly?
I don't know.
Meaning you don't know what your ugly is, or you're just not quite sure how to quantify it?
I'm not quite sure how to quantify it. So, Eric's death. We all kind of saw it coming, and it like him and Aaron had like a very beautiful kind of goodbye and everything. And my other half and I were kind of talking a little bit through the scene, and he's like, "Oh, I hope he leaves him a handgun so that he can take care of himself if the time comes, instead of turning into a walker." Well, of course, he turns into a walker.
Oh, and seeing him shamble off at the end was just horrible.
Okay, and I told my other half, I was like, I don't think I could let you shamble off like that. I was like, I think I would have to go and I would have to take you out because otherwise it would haunt my nightmares forever. Like I would never have that closure of having a body to bury or cremate or anything like that. You would always be out there, and part of me would feel like it's not you anymore, but other part of me would be like, well, what if his soul is trapped inside of that shambling body? Like I just I don't know. I don't know that I could actually kill you. Like maybe I would have the other guy do it, or maybe I would feel like I would have to be the one to do it. I just don't think that I could just let you shamble off like that. I think I would have to go after you. And I
I
think there's
don't
other.
think he let him shamble off. I think we just didn't see Eric getting put down. I
Oh no,
can't
I think
I can't see Aaron letting him do that. I can't see that.
but I think they would have shown it.
No, I really think that it was done.
Okay, then I think they should have shown it because I think there's probably people out there who would have been like, no, I don't think I could put a bullet, even if it was, it's just a zombie. That person's not there anymore,
And then your wife eats your kid and you go crazy like Morgan. Right?
Right? Right? And I'm also of the mind of like the more walkers we take out, the better. Like we shouldn't just like leave these people to
Good
shamble
point.
around and create more walkers.
Good point.
So I'm very conflicted about where they left Eric's character to just sort of shamble off into the sunset.
I'm voting for someone went and put him down.
I really hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. But so that was my ugly is that I I said, well, my other half was like, he didn't leave him a pistol to take care of himself. And I was like, he left him a rifle of some sort. And I was like, maybe he couldn't get his shoe off to get his toe in the trigger hole. Maybe he expired too quickly. we were discussing horrendous suicides at that moment. So I have a very bad taste in my mouth after Eric's like kind of Walker death.
I
Yeah.
would just like to say that maybe Aaron didn't leave a pistol for him because Aaron was holding on to hope that it was a through and through and that he might actually survive.
Right, right. I don't think Eric was expecting to walk up there and have that spot be empty.
You
I
mean
thought,
Aaron?
or I'm sorry, Aaron, that
Yeah.
that spot would be empty. That like I don't think it sort of occurred to him that he would die and shamble away, or that he would even die. You know, that he would come back up there and Eric would still be, you know, bleeding but still be alive, or maybe that he would just be dead. I think in that moment, it's not something that you consider that. Oh yeah, they're going to turn when they die. You know, maybe I should leave a pistol behind. So. Yeah, it was very, very sad for me. The comic book death seemed like a much cleaner, quicker, you know, they didn't get their goodbye, but, you know, at least he didn't turn into a walker and shamble off.
I don't know. That definitely is much more painful, though. It makes it a much more painful death for the survivor.
Headshot?
No,
Oh,
no,
yeah,
no.
okay,
It
no,
makes
no.
the shambling off as a Zed much more painful for the person who's watching the shambling.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Like, I had a hard time not crying at the sight of Aaron crying,
You
so.
know, I haven't cried during The Walking Dead in a long time. I could use a good therapeutic cry. I would be good with that.
Okay, Daryl, your heart is just turned to stone. You're like, doesn't matter.
Well, so my ugly was, I think it was a good ugly, and it was just what is going on with Morgan. And I really do think that him saying I'm not right is more about him being back in that place of the Morgan that we met in Clear.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this becomes one of those I can't participate in this. I walk away and we never hear anything more about Morgan ever again. I hope not,
No, I don't think so.
but I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, I don't like when mom and dad fight. Now dad stormed off, but
Right.
I very much commend him for taking himself out of the situation before it went any further. At least he's clear-headed enough to do that. No pun intended.
Right. So how much of it was I don't want this on my conscience and how much of it was I'm losing it and I need to remove myself from this?
60-40. 60% I can't be a part of this, and 40% I feel like I'm losing it.
I think you're
Not
right.
quite.
I think he's going
Yeah.
to be the next cheesemaker.
Yeah, not quite 50-50. I think that I think that if he would have continued on with the group, there would have either been strife with him in the group, or he would have just taken out all of the savior captives.
Well, he's pretty amazing and efficient as a killing machine. But we
Yeah.
saw that in Clear also.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of bummed that we're back at the all life is precious Morgan.
Yeah. But we're not.
Well, I feel like he's almost like a light bulb that's kind of flickering off and on, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and they touched on that on The Talking Dead when they said that when he pushed Jesus, he kind of had this look on his face like, I don't know what I just did, but I'm gonna keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't broken yet. Like he hasn't snapped and broken. It's like he's slowly cracking. It's like ice, like every step he takes, it shatters just a little bit more, the cracks keep getting bigger and bigger. And I think he recognizes that because of what he went through in Clear. And he's withdrawn from the situation.
Maybe he's a little more scared of it. He has some perception as to what's happening and he's trying to keep it from happening.
Oh, I definitely think he's more scared of it. I think that he thinks that this is so much bigger than what happened in Clear, that if he went full on this time, he would never come back from it.
I think you're right. And he may
Yeah.
not. I mean, I was thinking about that too. And I thought, people have mental illness in our current society. People lose it all the time, and some people
Hmm.
never come back. It's very realistic and very appropriate for someone in our group to lose it and never come back.
And it's surprising that maybe we don't see more of it because, I mean, you are in the apocalypse with the stressors of having to deal with not only the Walking Dead, but terrible people and survival, either by yourself or with a group you have to worry about. And there's food issues and water issues and, just there's a lot of stressors that, I'm very surprised to see everyone coping so well without drugs.
Without drugs. Well, we don't know. We don't know what they're doing at night when, who knows?
And they've got magical gas. Maybe they just have a Valium prescription that just never runs out.
Well, as we head into that slimy stuff on our feet, that rotting, smelly potpourri, I would like to say that I had a little bit of a chat with Brian today, and he just wants people to know that he was really overextended, so he's kind of trying to deal with being overextended. But he's doing well.
Good.
And I would like to give a shout out to a couple of new listeners. So there is a new listener who found his way to us via My Favorite Murder. It's really convoluted. Ryan Mills. Ryan, welcome.
Welcome.
And then I would also
welcome,
like to
Murderino.
say, yes, fellow Murderino. And I would also like to say welcome to Curtis, because Curtis is a healthcare provider with whom I work, and he has started listening, and he said it was really good. So
yay.
thank you to Ryan and Curtis for joining us. And anyone else new who's out there whose name I don't have.
Like us, share us, give us some feedback on Facebook. Tell me when I'm wrong about like the Savior Jared and stuff. Like, call me out on that crap. Like, I feel totally wrong. And like, I feel really bad about being mean to Eric. So yeah, call me out on that on Facebook.
You may not be the only person who is feeling a little mean toward Eric. I mean,
I watched them on The Talking Dead and I'm like, they're such nice people.
because this is what? Not a reality
Not a documentary.
show. Right.
At least I'm just mean to them like in my head and maybe a little bit on the podcast. I'm not like trolling them on Twitter. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. That's mean. Send love to Eric. Don't hate on Eric.
And maybe go see Blue Man Group.
Yeah.
Or buy his album that he didn't elaborate on.
Right. SOS Studio.
Yeah.
So I would just like to say, as we're headed into Rotting Potpourri, the kingdom, and I wrote this down, is all that is good and pure. There's no hesitation. There's no malice. They are just crusading, and maybe crusading is a laden term.
No, I love it.
They're just doing what they think is right and trying to create the best world. And
yes.
It's been so long since I felt not conflicted about a hero that it's really nice to be not conflicted about our heroes.
I kind of want King Ezekiel to kill Eric and then hold his severed head up and be like, poor Eric, I knew him well, Horatio.
Oh, that's terrible. That's just terrible. God.
So good at it, though.
That's so bad.
Save the king.
I love the king. And like I said, I think Carol loved him too.
He's a cool dude.
He is a pretty cool
Jerry.
dude. So that was my thing. I was just really loving Ezekiel again during this episode. He's kind of made the last couple of episodes for me. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I like his upbeat manner.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a ray of sunshine in a dark time.
Right, and not one. Not one.
Yeah.
Although it's looking
famous
rather
last
grim.
word.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Rotting Potpourri. Rick's been taking his Polaroids.
I think he's going to torture Negan with those Polaroids, don't you?
But there was a scene right before Daryl killed Minkus, where I know that's a thing now, where he had a yellow legal pad and he was writing a note of some sort too. And I feel like, I don't know if I actually saw it. Maybe it's just in my head. I feel like he like included one of those Polaroids in that note, but he was definitely writing a letter or a note to somebody.
It's a hate note to Negan. Although he may be writing to Dwight.
It's the zombie apocalypse version of hate tweeting.
Oh, which, by the way, our Seth Rogen t-shirt, I know someone who can make it. We need to send Seth Rogen his t-shirt.
We do.
That is totally a Preacher reference. And if you are a fan of Preacher, check us out at The Good News, the Gospel According to AMC's Preacher.
We will finish season 2 someday.
We will. And actually, I feel like we can say this on the podcast because our mother doesn't listen. But I think we're going to be live together next Sunday night podcasting The Walking Dead.
Live for us, not live for everyone else.
Right.
Just face to face.
Right.
Yes, I will be headed up to Anchorage this weekend to visit my dear sister. If, all things go well. It is Alaska in the wintertime after all. Right. Knock on wood. But, so I will be there on Sunday to watch with her, and on Monday, hopefully to either podcast Sunday night or Monday.
No, I'm thinking Sunday night, sister.
Yeah. We'll just do the one watch. We're not going to get a rewatch.
We may not get a rewatch. They may get us live.
Yeah, we may have to go back and add some second thoughts after a rewatch when we podcast.
That could be fun. We could do kind of a follow-up.
Yeah. So we will be geeking out together face to face. This ought to be interesting.
Well, no one will get a word in edgewise, and all of the dogs will be wearing muzzles.
Or in my lap.
Like, I looked at my husband tonight and I was like, "You're yammering at me. Stop. We're watching The Walking Dead. Stop talking."
Stop talking. That's funny. So yeah, I really wonder the note that Rick was writing, who was it to and what was it about, and did it include some of the Polaroids?
I'm sure they're going to come back. I mean, I can't imagine that they're not going to. And I think they're going to play a somewhat sinister role in the way that they played a sinister role at the end of season 6.
Or if I'm batting 1,000 with my predictions, it's a love letter to Michonne and some Rick dick pics.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That's too funny. Because even in the zombie apocalypse, Anthony Weiner still has his day.
I feel like I'm completely missing the mark on some of my predictions, my bigger predictions this season. So I'm going with naughty thoughts to Michonne.
Well, I don't know that I predicted it out loud, but I certainly thought Morales was going to be with us for more than, a few seconds at the end of last episode and a monologue in this.
I think we all were. I think it was just so wasted.
Maybe it was set up to get everybody hyped up about the crossover.
I don't know. I'm like, drag it out for a couple more episodes.
Right.
I mean,
you're dragging out All Out War. At least give us Morales for a little bit longer.
Well, and we already have like 8 dozen savior captives. What's one more?
Right.
Good Lord. Because I think Rick was kind of getting through to him at that point. I think when,
really?
he was like, a little bit when he said, he bashed Glenn's brain in front of his pregnant wife, and Morales is like, he was married, and it's like, well, not before. That's the widow that, Negan's talking about.
Which, by the way, I loved that. You're a prize along with the widow and the king.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a callback to Terminus.
Well, and there's an upcoming episode. Episode 6 is called The Widow, the King, the Widow, and Rick.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's actually kind of a call forward to an episode, The King, the Widow, and Rick. but I kind of feel like that maybe, Rick kind of struck a chord with, Morales losing his wife and daughters, and then, finding out that Negan bashed in Glenn's brains in front of, his pregnant wife. I think there was a flicker there.
I don't know, man. His eyes were hard and angry.
Yeah, and I don't know why he was so angry at Rick.
I think that he somehow holds Rick responsible for the loss of his family, which is kind of crazy because they're the ones who
Decided to
decided
leave
to go, and Rick made sure they left with ammunition and with didn't he send him
a
out with a CD
radio.
radio? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know where Morales' anger was coming from, and I would have liked to have found out,
Yeah,
but
I agree.
so much for that.
Phew. Bye. You okay? It's gonna be my line from now on. You okay?
So what do you got?
So I thought that Jesus's distinction between killing and executing people was interesting, and I think that this is all definitely part of the ongoing theme for this season, and we keep getting the word mercy over and over.
Yes,
We keep
definitely.
getting the concept of mercy kind of pushed back in our faces. So,
Yeah, Gregory asked for mercy
mm-hmm.
from
From
Maggie.
Maggie. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really did enjoy that scene at the gate in with Hilltop. I really liked that an awful lot.
Oh yeah.
Not just for the humorous moment, although that was great. It just was. It kind of illustrated the quandary that all of our characters are in right now in terms of letting people survive and trying to figure out how they're going to deal with the repercussions of this all-out war.
That was definitely a theme too. I think the only group we didn't see that with was Ezekiel's group, because Rick really didn't want Morales dead, and Maggie's not ready to kill Gregory, and Jesus apparently isn't ready to kill anyone.
And Tara and Daryl will kill everyone.
Yeah, I don't know where I caught it from, but I've been taking on the this person has zero chill, or I have zero chill today. Daryl and Tara have zero chill for anyone at all times.
Zero
Chill.
I guess the only other thing that I have to say, I didn't have tons of my writing potpourri, but Rick hands Gracie over to Aaron. I really do think we're going to see Gracie again. I think Aaron is going to end up raising Gracie. I'm not sure where we go with that other than that.
So have you been seeing these headlines about Gracie and Judith?
Well, so what was Thomas O'Mara on about today?
So there's this Spanish theory. I don't know. There's been multiple headlines and articles written about that. The flash forward that we see of Old Man Rick
is actually Gracie, not Judith.
Is actually right, because he never calls her by name. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't read too much into it because I'm like, I really don't think that they went there with the flash forward. It's possible that Judith dies this season. So, I'm not going to say that, like, that's not Judith because I don't think Judith dies. I don't think that's where they went with that not flash forward, dream sequence, I guess. I don't think that actually happens in the future, but I could be wrong because, I'm batting 1,000 here.
Well, so it was really funny because Thomas O'Mara was talking about how, let's see, Gracie is the little girl in Rick's future unless Aaron dies along with Judith and Carl. And I was like, what? You think so? Did they name her, or are you just guessing? He said, I'm guessing because they never called her by name in the sequence. And there are pictures floating around that show her in the same stuffed animal with the same stuffed animals in the crib.
Yes.
And then he talks about Rick standing over those two graves looking heartbroken at the beginning of episode 1.
Red-eyed Rick. Yep.
Yeah. And so, his theory is those are Carl and Judith's graves. And I'm like, nah, I'm pretty convinced he is standing at Abe and Glenn's graves just talking to them.
So, and I have seen an article that did talk about that those were Glenn and Abe's graves, but I mean, I don't know if that was speculation or any insider knowledge or anything like that.
And so,
If
of course,
anything,
Thomas's response was, "That's just what they want you to think." And I said, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
in the zombie apocalypse,
And he said, "In the Walking Dead universe, a cigar is never a cigar."
yep, yep, that's too true. If anything, it's Judith and Michonne. Like, I don't think Carl dies.
Stop already. I don't think Judith and Michonne die either.
I don't either. I do not either. But like, if we were gonna go there, I don't think Carl dies. I think out of those three, Carl's the survivor, and I'm just basing that purely on things that I've heard about the direction the comic books is gonna take. So
But we do have Chandler Riggs who needs to go to college. So
there is that. Maybe he pulls a Heath and disappears for 2 seasons. Or maybe we just live this day for the next 2 seasons. I mean, there is 24 hours in a day. We could pull this off.
Oh my God, please, no.
That would be awful.
It would be awful.
And you'd have to kill, like, that would be a horrible day to look back on because so many people would have died. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you got to kill a ton of characters over 2 seasons, whether they be main characters or satellite characters or just, cannon fodder red shirts. That would be like, yeah, that would be D-Day for the zombie apocalypse. It'd be Z-Day. So where I'm headed with my little end of episode rant.
Well, break it down, sister. Break it down.
Okay, so I know that we've talked about we are in the same day and we're kind of going back and forth about, different actions in different groups, and we're kind of at a simultaneous timeline, like, well, this is going on with this group, this is going on with this group. What the heck is going on with Negan and Father Gabriel? It has been 2 dang episodes. I need to know. Like hours ago. I need to know.
Are they going to tell us anything in the upcoming episode?
No. That would totally have been teased.
Are they going to wait until the mid-season finale? That would be a big mistake.
They better not.
That would be a big mistake.
Oh. So the title of the upcoming episode, the next episode, is Some Guy.
It's called Some Guy?
It's called Some Guy.
Oh, that is hilarious. So what's the teaser for it?
A new weapon in the Savior's arsenal proves to be a giant hurdle as fighting continues between Rick's forces and those of the Saviors.
I'm totally having to go to IMDb.
Yeah, I don't, and then after that, it's the big scary you.
Oh my God, that looks like Dwayne. The picture at IMDb looks like Dwayne, as in Morgan's kid.
It probably is. We're probably going to see Morgan flash back to all of his most horrible times, since the zombie apocalypse started. And we're not going to get any answers on Ezekiel or Negan or any of that.
Crazy.
Yeah, I'm like, you got to give us something. Something. Like 2 lines between them with zombies pounding on the doors behind them. Like anything. Throw me a bone here.
Which, by the way, I have to totally give my significant other cred, because we were watching that today, and I was like, okay, so this scene, as you're seeing all these zombies pound on this trailer, train car, whatever it is, for lack of a better description, what do you think? What are you thinking of? And he was like, oh, it's totally the tank in season 1. And I was like, good on ya. I was thinking of Terminus, but you caught it. Good for you.
Do you ever think that your significant other, listens to the show or reads ahead just to be impressive? Sometimes I think mine does that.
You think, maybe?
Yeah.
No, he would have to know what the podcast function on his phone is for, and he doesn't. So
He doesn't listen?
no,
Aww.
it's not lack of love. It's just lack of tech.
Well, he will get to listen to us do it in person.
Right, do it live.
Oh, the dogs will be barking down the door because we'll be laughing so hard.
Oh my God, Smalls will be whining at the door. So Smalls' latest thing, and I'm sure that all of our listeners really care about this. He's such a vocal dog. So he'll walk up and he'll flop against the door and go, it's so funny.
That's awesome.
He's not vocal like Juliet is vocal, thank God. He's more vocal like, oh.
That's funny.
All right, well, I'm going to let you start us out this time because I'm failing.
You know, I really need to go back and listen to the last episode because I think we nailed it. All right, everybody. Be really nice to each other.
It's been another rotten week.
It's been another rotten week, and sometimes it's kind of hard to watch a show with a lot of violence when there's a lot of violence going on in the real world.
Yeah.
Thanks for sticking with us. This is not a documentary. Just because the people die in the show doesn't mean they go on in real life, and that's not true for people in real life. So hug someone you love, and don't forget to take it one dead day at a time.
Hey, we got that! We nailed the last of it. We just gotta relax and let go.
Gotta relax.
All right. I love you, kid. We'll talk soon.
Love you too.
Everybody have a good week.
Have a great week.